Adam, you had mentioned earlier in your presentation that you're making an effort to minimize the impact on people. And I appreciate that. There are many studies that contradict your assertion that these high voltage 765 kilovolt lines will not pose a health risk to humans. Nonetheless, do you have any self-imposed standards or guidelines with regard to power line distances to humans, livestock, wildlife, wetlands, and streams? What are you going to do in that regard to protect the people in Orange County?
Sure, absolutely. That's a great question. So I think there's kind of two halves to that question, and if you will, I'll try to answer both of them. So to answer your question about safety and how we design transmission lines, all transmission lines in the United States are designed according to the National Electric Safety Code.
Just if I could, I didn't talk about safety, I talked about health.
Okay, so normally when people bring up potential health concerns with transmission lines, what we hear at open houses a lot is people who are concerned about EMF or electromagnetic frequency. That's the health concern that we tend to hear from the public a lot at open houses. I can tell you, Dominion, Valley Link, most utilities follow the science on EMF very, very closely because it is a question that gets brought up by the public all the time. So we follow the guidelines of the World Health Organization, the US EPA, and they have found no evidence that EMF, the rumor that you hear when it comes to EMF is that EMF causes cancer. All right, that's the rumor that's kind of out there in the public sphere. It's been out there since the 1980s. There was a big scare back in the 1980s and 1990s before there was a lot of research on this topic that power lines might be causing cancer. And so since that time, there's been a lot of studies that have been done, studies by all sorts of governmental agencies and universities, and a number of large organizations like the World Health Organization, like the EPA, like the American Cancer Society, kind of collect those studies. And what they found is that there's no link between electromagnetic frequencies, power lines, and cancer. There's just no cause that's been found. Now they do continue to do studies, and they continue to review research. And as utilities, we continue to monitor that because that's extremely important to us as well. As you may not know, EMF it scales. The closer you get to a source, the higher the EMF would be. And utility workers work much, much closer to energized lines than kind of your average person in the public, right? So we're working inside substations next to transformers. So the EMF exposure of a utility worker is going to be much higher than the EMF of exposure of a regular person going about their everyday life. So from a company standpoint, it's extremely, extremely important that anything that we're doing is safe, both for the public and for our own line workers who are working on these energized lines. And the guidance of the leading World Health Organizations, all indicates that there is no link between that rumor of EMF causing cancer and.
Okay. Well, just to stop you there.
Sure.
It's not a rumor. There are a number of agencies, the British Medical Journal, Journal of Internal Medicine, International Agency for Research on Cancer. Even the United States EPA. The EPA cautions citizens that there is reason for concern and advises avoidance of high voltage power lines. So you can pick and choose what research you like to abide by. But the reality is there are legitimate concerns, particularly in children, and it's appropriate that we're here in a high school gymnasium, a place where kids are going to grow and hopefully become leaders, that the most affected humans are children. So I think it's a concern. I think that you ought to take a look at the additional research that many of us in the audience have looked at and we're very concerned about, and we will continue to pressure you on this issue.
Thank you.
Eric Williams, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
Can you
So
hear
the
me?
question is, yes, I can hear you. The question is about EMF and the distance away from it. Is 500 feet considered a safe distance away from a transmission tower?
Yeah, generally. I think that the 200 I mean, anywhere outside the right of way is pretty safe.
Thank you.
And let me just add that we do have considerable resources, information online on the ValueLink transmission site, vltransmission.com, that talks about electric and magnetic fields. Lots of people have questions about. Lots of people have strong feelings about that. And if you Google EMF, you'll be able to find information that's pretty scary. We do have links on our site that link to independent studies, and so I would ask you to take a moment, if you're concerned about EMF, to take a moment and look at those resources, look at those independent studies before you make a final determination. What Eric said is correct, and it's also, the more the further away you move from the right of way, that those EMF numbers drop off dramatically. We also publish those EMF, electric and magnetic field information in every SCC application that we file. The SCC reviews that information, as does the Virginia Department of Health, and so that information is and will be public.